You're unmuted.
Hello, my name is Charlene Garcia-Simms, and I'm the Genealogy and Special Collections Librarian here at Rawlings Library. And we have started a series of book talks with local authors. We have approximately 500 books in our collection. So please get that manuscript published and we can have your book in our collection. Today we have Eduardo Griego Gonzalez presenting his recently published book, Yashel, the Giver. And it's a book about a Mayan, it's a Mayan and Olmec story. In the last few years, Eduardo has been presenting some very popular programs on the ancient civilizations. Personally, he has been through a 30-year journey to get this book published, and it became a learning and then a teaching experience. The student became the teacher. Eduardo was born in Walsenburg and raised in Pueblo. He graduated from East High and SCSC, today known as CSU Pueblo. He developed an interest in the Mayan teachings when he had a life change in 1991. He went to Guatemala to study the Mayan teachings after a Mayan elder he met in Santa Fe told him he should do this. He was initiated as a counter of the days, Ashkish, on Camino del Fuego of the Quiche Maya in Guatemala in 2001 after walking the water path the year before. He was ready to become a teacher, and many of us here in Pueblo are grateful because we continue learning from him about the ancient civilizations. There is so much to this topic. I recommend you go to Eduardo's website, innercosmicdoorway.com, and I'll go ahead and put this up at the end of the program. We'll put it up a couple of times. For now, let's get started.
Hi, thanks, Charlene. Thanks.
Okay, so Eduardo, tell us what inspired you to start writing this book.
Oh, wow, that's an interesting part of my life. I was living in Boulder, Colorado at the time and going through some personal life experiences that left me kind of lost and mixed up, I should say, as a man trying to figure out what's life really all about. Even though I had a successful business, I'm my own advertising firm and a lot of nice people working for me. We were doing really well financially, but I found inside myself that there was something missing. I felt like there was a sadness that I had abandoned my people and abandoned my true culture. And in any case, I decided to take a short trip to visit some friends in Nambe, New Mexico, and hang out there with them for a few days just to kind of get away from things here in Colorado, at that time in Boulder. And I visited my friend Bari and his wife, Christina. We went out for dinner a few nights, and one day I decided just to buy a Native American flute and go out into the desert and play my flute and pray. And I started crying a lot because I was realizing that I really hadn't found happiness. I had money and I had success. And I had two beautiful children from a previous marriage and felt blessed with that. But I felt like I was missing out on something. So that day I was walking and playing my flute, crying out in the desert. And for some reason I felt this strange, very strange, odd feeling that a dog was looking for me. Or maybe a coyote was out there in the desert looking at me, and I started looking around to see if I could find the dog, but I couldn't. And after a while, I decided I would take my walk back to my car and drive into Chimayo, which was just up the road. And my grandmother used to ask me to take her there often to get the sacred dirt that she used in her healing processes. She was a curandera and practiced curanderismo here in Pueblo, Colorado at the time. And she would ask me to drive her there once I got my driver's license, and she'd get the sacred dirt from the santuario. So I thought I'd just go over there and visit, have a day there and have lunch at the Rancho de Chimayo. Anyway, when I was driving down the road, I kept looking to see if I could find a lost dog, or I just had this weird, strange feeling that there was a lost dog that needed help. And when I didn't see anything, by the time I got to Chimayo and I pulled into the parking lot there of the Santuario, the little church. And when I parked, I closed my door to get out of my car, closed my door. And when I got out, a giant white wolf just put its paws on my shoulders and started licking my face like it knew me. And it was very shocking at that moment. It was actually a real surprise that to have that much energy being given to me at the time from this dog. I realized first that I wasn't crazy, that a dog was looking for me. And after a while of spending a couple of minutes talking and hugging him, I decided I better go into the santuario. But I figured if I came out and he was still there, I was going to take him home with me. In any case, I went into the santuario and prayed for a while. And when I came out, the wolf had left. And I decided to go over to the Rancho de Chimayo and have some lunch, and I did. And while after eating lunch, I was sitting outside in the sun. I was startled again. I actually heard a voice in my left ear, a woman's voice, say to me, "The Mayan prophecies are within your dwelling." And it just shocked me. I felt as though something very strange and odd was happening. So that's when I realized that I needed to learn more about the Mayan prophecies and the Mayan teachings. And that began my journey into writing this book, because in that few moments, I was shown a vision of an old woman in a wheelchair outside of a beautiful adobe hacienda, telling me that I was the one. And so from that time forward, I started learning everything I could about the Maya and the ancient teachings that go along with the Maya and the Olmec. And recently, I've found a lot of interest in studying the Olmec civilization and what they were doing to prepare Earth at that time, about 5,000 or 6,000 years ago. They were preparing the Earth for a time in the future, and that's, I think, now is the time they were preparing it all for us. So that's how I got started in writing the book.
Thank you. And without giving away too many secrets in the book, tell us about the book, the plot and so on.
Well, in a nutshell, it's a fictional story of a family who thought of themselves as a typical Chicano family living in Los Angeles, and yet feeling as though they were having to deal with a lot of issues in living in the big city and dealing with a lot of the people problems that go along with the big city. Juanita, Alberto and Juanita, the two main characters in the book. Juanita decides that her instincts are telling her that she wants to move out of LA and back to their native home back in New Mexico. And that's where the story really starts. It starts when they go back to visit her sister who lives in Los Lunas, New Mexico. It's a little village south of Albuquerque. And in their visit, decide they're there to look for homes and the possibility of looking for homes. And Alberto had put in an application to teach history at a private school there in Los Lunas, and they had accepted his resume and decided to hire him. And so there you go. He's got a job, and she wants to move back there. And so that's how the story starts. And then from there, it starts to get convoluted and interesting, because their life changes dramatically when they meet this elderly woman who needs a wheelchair to get around, and invites them into her home, and they fall in love with her beautiful hacienda. And just before they leave, she has her assistant roll her chair out before Juanita and Alberto leave, and she says, "Is your husband a history teacher?" And Juanita says, "Yes, he is." And then she says, "Then he's the one." And that's how the story starts, where she makes it easy for them to purchase her hacienda. And that's how the beginning of the book is. And it goes back to when they're living in LA again for a while, and trying to extricate themselves from the city to move back to Los Lunas.
Sounds intriguing when she says, did she say, "You're the one," or what did she say?
Yeah, she actually screams, "Ay, you're the one," expecting him, apparently.
That's a little spooky to me, but why did you write the book in novel form instead of a guide?
The thing that I've learned about human beings is that we have a tendency to get more interested in a story rather than reading a guide of glyphs and numbers and so forth. if we can be taught the same information by reading a story that keeps your interest and tells you the story and shows you the characters and how they experience life, so that they can actually apply these ancient teachings that come from the calendar we call the Cholki, the sacred calendar of the Maya or the Olmec, and how we can apply those to our everyday life, then it makes the lesson, instead of being a guidebook or a lesson book or a teaching book, it's a story that teaches all of the things that are important about the Mayan teachings in the story itself. And my experience is that people find that the story is interesting. They continue to come back to it night after night to see what's going to happen tomorrow in their
Yeah.
reading of
Yeah.
Yashel given.
And so, sometimes guides get a little monotonous, so I'm really glad that you did it in this format. Tell us about the character Yashel and how you use him to teach people or the reader about the Mayan teachings.
Yashel is a being who comes through a portal in the earth. And the Maya, and I'm sure other ancient beings on the planet have known about portals on the planet forever. And the Maya feel that we're able to go through these portals to travel into the cosmos and back. And in Yashel's case, he lived a life as a human being. And when Alberto and he meet, it's because they have a destiny together. Yashel returns back to planet Earth to teach Alberto the things that he needs to know, and actually that all human beings would probably benefit from knowing, that we can apply to living our lives, especially right now. We're all at a crossroads, and it was predicted by the elders who created these sacred teachings in the calendar system that at this time on planet Earth, human beings would be going through heavy-duty transformations, transitions, and changes, major changes that were going to affect all of our lives. And they said that were going to go to sleep for 500 years and cover everything over with dirt. And at the end of that 500 years, human beings would awaken. They really are. And so Yashel takes it upon himself to try to teach Alberto all of these important things that are hidden within the sacred teachings of the Olmec and the Toltec and the Aztec and the Maya. We call it the sacred calendar system, but there's a lot of hidden information in there that we literally really can apply to our living in today, with dealing with illnesses and death and the potential of death, and how we can apply our hearts to learning to transform ourselves as we go into life at this time, into who we really are. And the elders think that we are these amazing light beings in these physical bodies, and that it's time for us to remember this and time for us to wake up, so to speak.
Thank you. The whole book is so interesting. One of the things that I really like about the book is that you make the women in the book very strong. Can you tell us about this a little bit?
Yes, I actually was blessed to have been raised by powerful women. My mother and my two grandmothers, both on my father's side and my mother's side, were both very powerful, strong women. And my mother, being a child of my grandmother, who was a healer and practiced curanderismo, my mother tried to make everything work so that we fit into the world of Pueblo, living in Pueblo, Colorado, and being. We used to always say, she would always tell us, "You're Spanish. You're not Mexican. You're Spanish." Well, I think we all know now that yo soy Chicano. I'm a Mexicano, a Chicano, and I'm proud of it. I have Indian blood in me, so the correct way to refer to me would be an Indio Hispano. And I think most of us who would like to call ourselves Spanish people that live in northern New Mexico and in southern Colorado, because we didn't want to be considered in those days to be considered all the other negative aspects that people had placed on people who came across the Mexican border into the United States. I personally am so proud of my culture and my people. To have Native American blood and Mexican blood in me gives me pride. So having women who are proud of who they are, and then use the food and the culture and all of the backbone of being a Chicano or a Mexicano or an Indio Hispano in this part of the world, we eat the foods that we've always eaten, everything from frijoles and arroz and chili verde, all of the necessary ingredients to make us feel proud of who we are was brought to us by the women. And having strong personalities in our mothers and grandmothers really gave me a basis upon which I could write this book and bring out that same idea about the power of Indio Hispano women and being proud of it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that part, because I too grew up with such strong women, so I think a lot of people will identify with that. Will you please read a short paragraph or two from the book, maybe one of your favorite pieces?
Okay. I'll just give you a little bit of a prelude to what this is before we start reading what really is happening. After Juanita and Alberto purchase this home from Doña Martinez, they go back to LA for a while, and when they return after closing on the property, they return back to see their house. Alberto and she decide to go back to the house and walk through it to see their beautiful new hacienda. And Alberto decides that he wants to go down into the basement, because one of the things that he discovers when he's in Don Estevan's office, there's a note from Don Estevan to Alberto saying, there is a cavern below your home. And so he starts to look for a key to the door that goes down into the basement, and they find it, and he goes down in by himself. So I'll start reading from that part of the book. I felt a little weird in my stomach, but I wanted to know right away what was down there. I walked back to the office where I'd seen some old oil lamps and grabbed one. Seeing some large wooden matches and a striker on the desk, I brought the lamp to life. I grabbed a couple of more matches on the way back to the closet, and when I got to the door, the light from the lamp pierced the darkness below, creating a pathway of light. I noticed the stairway was carved into the earth. It seemed very steep. I carefully stepped down and, leaning back as not to fall forward, placed my feet on each rough step and took me down within the cavernous space. The stairway curved as down, and soon I could no longer see the light from the doorway above. I must have descended about 25 feet when the light cut through the dust to display a large room filled with literally hundreds of artifacts, Mayan artifacts. The sight took my breath away. Everything was covered with dust and cobwebs, but I could tell what was underneath. My heart skipped a beat when a mouse leaped from behind something and the light surprised it scurrying into the corner. I collected myself and looked around at the dusty objects. Amazing. I had just discovered a Mayan treasure. Or I'm sorry, had I just discovered a Mayan treasure? I walked the path through the maze of artifacts, holding my breath. I didn't know whether to be terrified or thrilled. As I raised the lantern, light showed more of the cavern, and I could just barely make out the pathway leading to a doorway. I took 2 or 3 steps closer, and as the light lit the area in front of me, I saw the entrance to what looked like a structure made of stone. If there was in fact a dwelling there, it was not under the house, but a cavern was going away from it. In front of the entryway was a wood cross fastened in a way to keep anyone from entering. The cross was hand-carved and very large. It had to be the one that Henry had talked about. Yes, this had to be the one made by Chucho's father and never seen again. The light from the lamp struck a shining object in front of the door, gold in color. When I held the light to it, I could see it was a sizable reflective disc engraved with symbols. I spoke out loud. It is a Mayan sun calendar. I touched it. It was cold and damp, and although dusty, it shined as real gold would. The pace of my heart began to speed up. Surely it was not gold. If it is, it's priceless. As I denied the possibility, something told me it was just that, pure gold. I decided to take a sample of the metal and have it tested. Setting the lamp down on the ledge, clearly there was just this purpose. Clearly, it was there for just this purpose. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the obsidian knife. It felt comfortable in my hand, like I'd held it before. Using it gingerly, I felt the sharp edge easily cut the metal. I carefully scraped a small chunk into my other hand. I felt heavy like gold. It looked like gold. Damn, I'll bet it is gold, I yelled in excitement. I pulled out my handkerchief with trembling hands and wrapped the scraping in it. I put the metal chip into my jacket pocket, along with the knife. At that moment, the silence was broken by Juanita's voice calling from above. Alberto, Alberto, are you okay? It's time we left or we'll miss our plane. Yes, I'm coming up. I grabbed the lamp and worked my way back through the room and up the stairway. I was carefully ascending when I heard another sound, only this time it came from below. It was the sound of a flute. The sound was deep within the walls and far off. Flute music. Yes, that's what it was, all right. Chills ran up my back and the hair on my neck stood on end. I stopped in my tracks and listened again. But there was nothing now. The music had stopped, or had it ever started? Maybe I just heard things. My imagination's getting the best of me. The sound of my voice eased my heart back to a more normal beat. I came out of the darkness to find Juanita's smiling face waiting for me.
I'm going to give something away. It wasn't Alberto's imagination.
No, it wasn't.
Is there anything else you want to add about the book?
Well, there's a lot of things I'd like to add about it. I recognize that we have just a few minutes. However, writing this book allowed me to go to another world, actually, to leave the advertising business in Boulder, Colorado, and then moving to New Mexico, and then deciding to travel to Guatemala. I went into a world that was based on ancient teachings that people were still living with the hope that, as the ancient teachers had predicted, human beings would soon be awakening from the dream. And with Yashel being the teacher, it allowed me the opportunity to use most of the things that I had been taught, walking the water path with Joselo, my teacher there, then walking the fire path with both Joselo and Carla, my two teachers, and traveled to 20 different sacred sites throughout Guatemala, some in the mountains, some along a lake, some of them on top of a stone overlooking a pyramid, overlooking volcanic ash coming out of the mouth of a volcano. I went into another world, and it gave me the opportunity to see how much I was missing out on, thinking that life was just being successful and driving BMWs and trying to fit into the world of business and commerce. When I met the people of Guatemala, the Maya people, they are the most, I guess the best word I can say is they have so much heart and so much love, and their humility is just incredible, and yet they're so powerful, and they wear these huipiles and the beautiful clothing that they wear. It's like walking into a make-believe world. that still exists. As far as I know, it's still there in the mountains. And it allowed me to write a story that gives people the tools that are taught to anyone who goes and becomes, walks on the path of the Achkich, the counter of the days, to actually do these sacred ceremonies in beautiful places all over Central America. I was able to learn what I could learn, but it was also in the walking of a student. Eileen Meyer, my partner at the time, decided she wanted to walk the fire path, and so we started walking the path together, me as her teacher. And she initiated Call, which is one of the most beautiful places in the world. So all of that information that I'm telling you about now is within this book in some way. And so it gives me a great amount of pride to be, first, to be initiated as a walker of the Mayan path, and to be able to teach others this information, which I feel is very important, especially at this time. And this book is loaded with information that can help us keep our balance, how we can remember to activate our heart and activate our heart and brain together so that we can connect to what the Maya referred to as the Sakbe, the white road. And it's our Milky Way. It's our cosmic destiny, if you will. So it really was an opportunity for me to tell my story, but it was also an opportunity for me to touch into these amazing people that we call Mesoamericans. The beauty, their intelligence, the calendar system, the way they were able to build temples that we still can't match in our building and construction capabilities today. We still can't match what they were doing then. They had a writing system, they had a number system, and the calendar system is still the most accurate that we've ever discovered. So all of that is within this book. And yet there's a good story about how humankind can learn to forgive and let go of fear and choose love.
Thank you. I still miss Yashel. I need to read the book a second time. I really miss him, especially now because I feel that he taught me to choose love over fear, without giving a lot away in the book. But thank you. Your experiences have been amazing, and I want to make sure that and most important, how can people get the book?
Okay, if you want, you can go to my website. It's called innercosmicdoorway.com. And there is a page that says book, and you can go there and click on it. And you can order the book directly from that site and pay with your credit card. Or you can email me. My email is also there, so you can send me an email telling me you want the book, and we'll connect. If we're in the Pueblo, Colorado area, I can deliver the book and sign it for you. If you want to order it and have it shipped, I can mail it to you. So Inner Cosmic Doorway, just click on the book page. Oh, and the home page will ask you to do one important thing, and that's to light your inner fire. Because right now, we really all need to do that. We need to become who we really are, the powerful beings that are within us. Have to start remembering that it's time for us to come back to our normal selves and be who we really are at this time on planet Earth.
Okay, I'm leaving this up purposely because if you go into Eduardo's website, there's so many things that you can learn, and doing the book talk, there just isn't enough time, and it's so deep, and I just really recommend you go to his website, and thank you so much, Eduardo.
You're welcome.
I'm going to do a commercial. I haven't done a commercial yet.
Okay.
On June the 10th, we had Eduardo make a presentation called the Caterpillar and the Butterfly, and it is an amazing. We've had over 500 views on it, and so if you want the easiest way to go to get get connected to the video is to go to Rawlings Facebook and scroll down to the June 10th presentations. And Eduardo's is called The Caterpillar and the Butterfly. You will just be so amazed. So please do that. So that's my first commercial.
Okay. Thank you.
The other commercial is that if you have written a book and we don't have it here, call 719-562-5600 and ask for special collections, because we want your book. We will purchase it. Like I said, we have a little over 500 books of local authors over the last 40 years, and we want to have every book that's been written by a local author. And so please continue listening to our virtual programs. This is a really hard time where I know you can't come to the library, but please look at our website to see all the virtual wonderful programs that we have. And so thank you, and have a good evening. And thank you, Eduardo. It was amazing presentation.
Thank you, Charlene. Thank you. I'm glad I could be here.
Okay.
Bye.